Good Wednesday evening. We're friends. Okay, this isn't sports. I'm sorry. Good Wednesday evening, friends. Welcome to This and That the podcast. I'm your host Joe Gilloway, and along with my partner Bill Bostic, we
Heck,
hope to bring you guests and topics you'll find both fun and captivating from the worlds of local politics, arts and leisure, pop culture, and beyond. This and That the podcast is brought to you by the American Legion Post 272, the Robert H. Hoke American Legion on North Mountain Road, Team PA, AAU basketball, and Rickabaz Electric. Thanks to those great local businesses for their continued support of our little podcast. Bill, how are you this evening?
I'm doing fine. I think I'm prepared. I took some time to look at some things about our topic, and I was just thinking, what is, I've asked this before, but what is beyond? And I'm thinking from our past episodes,
We've had Beyonds before. They didn't fit any of the other ones,
the
okay?
comedian, what was
Right.
your friend, the comedian? What was his name?
John
Hurricane.
Hurricane, yeah, yeah,
Hurricane,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That was
That's
a
a
good
good
one.
question though, because we say that topics you'll from the worlds of local politics, arts and leisure, pop culture. Okay, if you don't fit any of them, then you're from beyond. Anyway, pardon me with the sports intro there. We've been doing at least two sports podcasts a week, and we're kind of in the nitty gritty here with basketball. So I got sports on the brain. But anyway, this is This and That the podcast. Bill, what episode number is this? Do you know?
I'm going to say 39.
Oh my gosh, Bill, you're getting worse. You're going,
43. I don't
yes,
know.
yes, that's it. This is episode 43. We've been doing this for almost 11 months now,
Yeah,
and that's a lot of episodes.
it is.
We've been pretty steady. Um, I want to say one of the ones I'm kind of sourcing now, or I'm definitely sourcing. We're
Uh-huh.
going to do an episode on addiction and recovery.
Okay.
Okay, recovery from alcoholism, mostly substance abuse. That's kind of my wheelhouse a little more than a lot of the other stuff. I wouldn't be opposed to covering, maybe food addictions and stuff like that. But I'm going to bring on some real live recovering people, some people recovering from chemical dependency, and we're gonna talk about what it used to be like, what happened, and in their lives, and what it's like today for them in recovery. So I'm kind of excited about that one. And I want to mention that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the participants who voice them and do not necessarily reflect the positions held by This and That the podcast as an entity, Bill or myself, or the sponsors who support the show. Again, Lingelstown Gazette Sports, we're on the home stretch here with high school basketball. District 3 playoffs just started, and then comes the PIAA state championship tournament. And we're doing at least one boys show every Sunday night, and we've done a couple girls basketball shows recently. So, and before I bring in our guest, and we're going to do that very soon here, I want to mention that what we're talking about tonight is economic development in a nutshell. Economic development, and specifically Colonial Park Mall in Lower Paxton Township. And I would be remiss not to mention, because people are going to ask me, viewers, they don't like the way we do things sometimes. They think we're not asking the right questions. They think
No.
we're asking too easy of questions. But I have reached out to all 5 of the Lower Paxton Township board members to be joining on this show. And 3 did return my message, my email, and for different reasons said that they weren't willing to join us tonight. And the other 2 just didn't get back to me. So, and I'm not mad. We're not upset about it. It just, I just know that I'm going to hear, like, why didn't you bring any board members on? They're the ones that really have to get their sleeves rolled up and really dig into this issue. But I'm going to try again. And we've always been very professional on this show, with this show, towards these board members in the campaign season. And I feel like it's something that I would like to do, is make sure that we have develop and maintain a good relationship with those 5 folks. Yes, Bill.
Yeah, I just, on that topic, last night, after they selected a new chairman, John Campbell, in his announcement said that he is in fact started to work on economic
Okay.
development. So he's just at the very early stages of trying to come up with a strategy before they get into
Okay.
the making decisions.
To be fair, Bill, I'm glad you mentioned that. The three that did get back to me, one by text and two by email, they just were more concerned with not having enough information
Mm-hmm.
to join us. Okay. They didn't want to get caught with, for lack of a better term, their pants down, figuratively, of course. And I'm sure that I could be put in a position like that where somebody might want me to join them and talk about something that I wasn't prepared to talk about. So, yeah, we do
Well,
respect that. And good.
tonight's show, we'll give them some education. We'll help them out. Get
All
a
right.
little bit
Let's
of
bring them in.
a
Let's bring
primer.
them in.
A primer.
Okay. So you hear that, guys?
Mhm.
Eric Epstein and Jeff Clare. Bill just said that you guys are going to be responsible for helping the board get up and running on this topic. Okay.
I demur.
So this is Jeff Clare. Let me make sure I get this right. You are the former director of economic development for Lower Paxton Township. That's correct, right?
Correct. Yes.
Eric, what are you tonight? What are you tonight? Eric, you're a regular, man. You get recycled, and it's always different topics.
Yeah. So I'm the former founder of Swan, Stray Winds Area Neighbors. And Rock the Capital, we cover a lot of economic development and land use. So
Okay.
I'm not here in any official capacity, but as someone who's kind of a sponge on a wall at a lot of meetings, that, what we try to do is make observations and put together some really good lessons learned, standing operating protocols. And I can talk about that later.
We can never have too many sponges on your wall. So thanks for joining us.
Sure.
And I know that Bill, Bill studies this stuff, and he's kind of been. We're going to talk about Colonial Park Mall first, and then get into economic development, kind of generally speaking. But Bill and I have been talking about this for quite a while, and I just want to. I admittedly I used AI for this just to get a definition so people know what we're talking about. A township establishes, and interrupt me or correct me if I'm wrong, an economic development authority or department or whatever it may be to proactively promote local prosperity, create jobs, and expand the tax base through targeted business investment and infrastructure development. Is that close? Is that kind of what the goal is, Jeff?
Part of it. Yes. A major part of it
What's the other part?
is having a person at the township level directing the activity.
Okay. All right. And you were the last prior economic development director. What can get done having a person like you in place versus not having one at all? I mean, what was your role? What was your chief role when you get up in the morning and you sharpen your pencil and get your laptop open and get ready to go to work? What were you doing in those 8 hours or 10 hours that day?
Well, attracting new business to the community is a major part of it. But, we have so many commercial spaces that are sitting vacant
Mm-hmm.
that it's attracting business, but you don't want to have a glut of empty storefronts or office buildings because it's just not attractive to the community.
Okay, and you have, let's say you have a Colonial Park Mall or a Villa Teresa. I'm sure that's something that was
That's one of them.
kind of in your and have handful of other major ones. What are you going to do to try to promote that or try to get that leased or purchased or filled? How do you go about that? How does an economic development manager go about that?
Well, there are what they call site selection committees. Every major corporation has one. And so it's about communicating with organizations around the country and around the world that are looking to either expand their business or relocate to a new location. So my job was just basically to reach out and market Lower Paxton Township to the rest of the world.
And the township, are you convinced is better off? And I'm sure you did a great job. Okay. But right now I think it was, let's just call it was defunded, because Bill and I were at the meeting, a few months ago, Bill, and that line item on the budget is like in red, or it just said minus, or, is it a struggle? How much more of a struggle is it for these properties, this land or these buildings to get leased or or purchased without somebody like Jeff Clare or whoever the next one would be?
Well, there has to be a point of purchase. So, there are regulations, there are rules, there are ordinances, there are a lot of things that stand in the way of a purchaser or a leasing organization. But the reality of it is you can't do it sitting in Lower Paxton Township. You got to be out there and be at meetings and investment groups and market the township externally.
So you're courting people,
Oh,
prospective purchasers or leasers, right?
100% of the time.
Yeah. So it's a lot of sales, I would imagine. A lot of heavy on sales, and you also have to have the background in probably real estate or economic. You probably have to have multiple backgrounds. Is that correct?
Yes, development. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like a serious job, that
Well, it is.
somebody's not going to just roll in off the street and say, "I want that job,"
Well, nobody working in the window at McDonald's is going to be able to pull
Probably
that.
not. Yeah.
Probably
Nobody hosting this podcast will either. So let's bring Eric Epstein in. Eric, thanks for joining us. And you have a pretty good understanding of things of this nature. I don't know. You haven't had the same job that Jeff had but
Jeff's an expert.
Right. Yeah. What have you done or what can you tell us to add to what Jeff said about, trying to get these properties purchased or filled or leased or what is the big obstacle in getting that done for a township?
Well, I think you need to have a plan. And if you look at the tale of two cities like Harrisburg and Lancaster, Lancaster is robust and growing, and they brought all the stakeholders to the table. I'm good friends with Arthur Morris, who's the former mayor, and he headed up the convention center project, which helped resuscitate downtown. And frankly, Lancaster took a hit because of Park City Mall back in the day. And it's a gorgeous town. I love it. Harrisburg, which I love too, doesn't have a plan. In fact, when you go to the meetings of the ICA,
well, tell people what the ICA is, Eric.
the ICA is the oversight body for the city of Harrisburg.
Okay.
And so we've attended every meeting in the last 6 years, and there's no initiative. They're asking the same questions. What can we do? We've offered some suggestions. I think one of the things Harrisburg can do is repurpose some of the buildings. They've got a unique challenge because they have so many properties that are not on the tax rolls. But I think, building on what Jeff said, you need to have those partnerships and you need to be out there all the time. And there are pockets of money available. We attend the Economic Development Corporation meetings, the Industrial Development Authority meetings, the Bureau of Assessment and Appeal meetings, and you get a really good snapshot of what's happening with land around the county. And look, I think there's opportunities. I mean, if there's certain parts of this area that have a really concentrated economic forte. I mean, Eisenhower Boulevard out in Swadera has a lot of hotels, and they kind of marry their growth with tourism. So I think, and I don't know that we don't have this, but to have an identity, and as Jeff said, to go out there and promote that you're selling the township. A lot of good assets here. Okay. But I think you need to have a point person. And I don't think you can do it by not getting out there and hustling, and not hustling in a bad way, but you're promoting.
Getting up every morning and going out and trying to accomplish what we're talking about is what you're saying by hustling.
Yeah. So when you go to the Harrisburg Area Transportation Study, HATS, it's the entity for Cumberland, Perry, and Dauphin County that coordinates transportation. You're either there or you're not there. And if you're not there, you're not getting projects through. For instance, the Carlisle is there all the time, getting projects through. People say, why is Carlisle getting all the projects? Because they're there, and they promote them, they walk them through, and every little bit helps. Who wouldn't benefit with better transportation, intermodal, bike, things of that nature. So I think we miss Jeff, and in the kind of knowledge he has, you can't replace,
Right.
because it's really a specialized field.
So Bill, I'm going to bring you in as soon as I'm just going to set up what's going on with the mall right now for those who don't know. And full disclosure, Bill and I go to the mall. I've been at the mall probably 5 days out of the last 7. I walk there now. So that's where I've graduated to that point in my life. And Bill and we've walked a couple of times. But I say that not to tell people that I walk, but to let you all know that the guy's keeping it up very well. This was purchased in 2024 for $8.8 million. One of the plans, and I think it's kind of been put on the side burner for now, I don't know if it's the side or back burner, was to put a trampoline park in the former Bonton. This guy owns a multiple, like a lot of trampoline parks, the owner of the mall. I was told that that's kind of shelved, at least for now.
Well, there's a stop work order
issued by the town
because of the electrical system, apparently.
As a courtesy, I'm going to fly through this, but as a courtesy to the people who are renting the space at the mall, this is what's there now. Okay. Magic Nails, Colonial dollar. Now it's $1 and up. It's not all $1, folks. Mr. Fix It. He fixes your cell phone screens, designer suits. That's a Muslim shop. It's a nice shop. Very clean. Like a lot of these shops, these people really take pride in, a T-Mobile store, Shoe Carnival. That's a really big shoe carnival. This is a brand new space. And a guy was in there cleaning it up today. I said, wow, what's going in there? He said, nothing for now. He said, the owner just wants me to clean up all these unused spaces and have them prepared. So they're trying to do something. And then K Jewelers, pardon me, these are a little kind of gray and
lighting's not too good there.
No, it was better for the other ones. This is a kind of a vibrant Chinese restaurant. People eat there a lot. There's a tailor, another nail salon.
Second nails place.
That's not a GNC. That's kind of a variety store. Really nice variety store. I mean, the guy has it's really a variety. And then a gold exchange, like a jewelry exchange. So sorry, I had to, for those that aren't interested in that, but I was talking to a couple of the business owners in there, and I told them, a couple of them asked me, what are you taking a picture of my shop for? And I told them why. And I said, I promise you that I'll promote and I'll let people know that you're in here and that you're still
There's
alive.
also a store on the outside on the Colonial Road side that's I forget what it's called. Do you know, Jeff? The one that just opened along Colonial Road, that outside entrance. It's sort of like Ollie's, except that
there used to be a shoe store there, right?
Yeah, and they're getting secondhand. They're getting overstocked items from Walmart, I believe is what it is, or Sam's Club, something like that. Yeah.
I'm just going to mention this, that outside of the mall, on the grounds, on the property, there is still a Sears Auto Center. There's also a Sears. I think they're owned by Kmart now, maybe. A Red Lobster, a Longhorn Steakhouse, and a Mounts Jewelers. Bill, how are those businesses, whatever rights they have, how is that tied into what ends up happening to this mall?
Jeff would know that.
Jeff?
So that's where the mess begins.
Okay, I thought so.
So there was a new a town center ordinance written. So there are components to this. Years ago, and I've never had the ability to see a document, but an agreement between the township and Boscov's was put in place that no one would build on the Colonial Road frontage to obscure the visual of the department store. So
Bonton.
Boscov's.
Oh, Boscov's is the one on Colonial?
Facing Colonial.
Okay, yeah, Bonton faces Jonestown. Okay.
So the new owner of them that purchased the property, all he wanted to do was to redevelop the mall, make it clean up, and then to take the Bonton building and build the America Fun Center on the second floor. He's going through with that, and this stop work order will be remedied. But you can't get all the property owners, Mounts, you went through them, to agree on what the master plan will end up being.
Must they approve it?
they must approve it.
Okay.
Hey, Jeff, Jeff, let me ask you a question. If this current owner does what he does in other properties and just tries to lease out these open spots, they don't have to have a master plan for that. It's only when they start changing the nature of the mall is when they have to have the master plan. Okay.
So, as when I sat and spoke with the owners group, they were planning to put new pads up, so we got a call from, let's say, a Whole Foods. It was a competitor, and they wanted their own building, their own footprint. Well, in order to do that, the new owner has to put a subdivision plan in. Well, you got to hire a lawyer, you got to draw up the paperwork. It's an expensive proposition. But the other part to that is Transformco, which is now the Sears properties. So the automotive center underneath that is a running creek.
Right.
There's asbestos, there's lead. And so just to flatten the property to make it buildable would probably run somewhere between $1 and $2 million.
Kind of sounds like Hades.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Well, if you're not doing the right thing, that's where you're going to end up.
Exactly.
So it's going to be an impossible task, well, close to impossible, to rebuild the mall and not include the Sears store. So the township has got to sit down with the people from Transformco and work out an arrangement, an agreement that they too will be part of the bigger picture. To have a mold encrusted building that's sitting there empty with a beautiful brand new location next to it is not going to draw much attention.
Was that the former Sears or the Sears
The
Automotive?
former Sears building, not
Okay.
the automotive center.
Okay.
So, there were calls made. People wanted to buy the automotive center portion, but they
Yes.
were car companies, whether they be automotive repair, but the township doesn't want any more, tire places.
Right. But they have a vape shop after vape shop. Well, how does that? That's for another. I have that. I was going to address it a couple minutes from now, but yeah, how would that be that they don't want another tire or automotive center, but these vape shops are popping up all over the place?
Well, and I got a call from News Channel 21. Why do we have 9 car washes? Well, we do. I mean, the township doesn't make the rules of who moves in.
Right.
We don't even have business permits.
You don't have a right of refusal either, the township, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I guess the only way you could actually get rid of them is you somehow tinker with the zoning and, lock it down a little bit. You still have to have all the uses, but maybe not have it in all these districts.
Have to be at the legislative level, I
Yeah.
guess, is what
You
you're
could
saying.
do it that way, potentially.
Okay. So, and how about a monthly nut? I've heard some ungodly high numbers. And I'm walking in there, I'm thinking, I wonder what it costs them just to swap out the light bulbs every month and keep the floors clean and it's clean in there,
Mhm.
Does anybody know what their monthly nut is? Nut meaning how much they have to pay just to keep the place afloat?
Well, when we denied, well, not we, but when somebody in the township denied a demolition permit to the new owner, he said to us in the meeting that it was going to run him about $125,000.
That's the number I heard, 120.
Yeah. So, I mean, that includes all his taxes, sewer,
Right.
the whole 9 yards. But that's the number he's got to meet
Yes.
every month.
Okay. Well,
So
okay.
there's a question hanging out there. How long can they continue to do that?
Have you or Eric, have either of you been in the mall recently?
Yeah, I was there the other day.
I know I keep singing their praises, but they're really doing a pretty bang up job, decent.
But the vibe it gives off is not so bad.
I understand that. I
mean,
totally understand that.
I think we're lucky that they they do maintain it well, and
Yeah.
and you can walk. Those are all good things. We started a building there and didn't feel like we could have got more support. So we tried it out for a year, but
what do you mean by that? You started a building there?
You had a
No.
store by Boscov's, right?
yeah, we had a mystery box depot where you would
Oh,
come
okay.
in.
All right.
And so It didn't work, and I don't want to blame them, but there's just not an energy there. And when you walk up towards the Sears at night, it's pretty dark and Gotham-esque.
The only thing up there is the shoe store.
Right.
That's the only thing up there.
But Transformco was hard to deal with. I tried to buy the key shop in the parking lot, tried to buy, the Sears garage. And, we were told, no, you've got to buy everything. And Sears has a lot of leverage here. I mean, nothing's going to happen without them. I think people, sometimes you have to go to the past to rescue the future. And when this came in, it was wonderful. 1960 was first built. It was built by Food Fair.
Open air, yeah, Food Fair, yep.
Yeah, and when you look at the stores that were there, you're not going to be able to repeat that. Had the Harvest House, you had Jack and Jill's, Woolworth, Crest, Translock Theater was in the parking lot where the Barber now is.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was there. Eye Doctor, bar, beer distributor. Unlikely that any of them are coming back, but a lot of them are also national. And this just reflects what's happened nationally. No,
Miller's Auto.
Alaska Land.
Yeah.
Alaska.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No.
the amount of reminiscing I'm doing right now because I kind of grew up in that mall, Eric.
Yeah, look, we had a business in there too and did well, and it was essentially a de facto place for teenagers to go and feel safe and do whatever teenagers do. But it was a destination site. People wanted to go and they would stay there for a while. And if you look across the country, we're not unique. If you look across the state, we're not unique. And Jeff may be able to answer this more than I can. I've always thought because of the Creek, because of Sears, and because of some other. I mean, it's a funky mall. I mean, when you go in there and you're first there, you're wondering why it rises, it snakes around. But I had proposed the idea of converting it to a super elementary school. And the reason being is you had the parking, you had the security. If we could partner with somebody to develop it, they would have us as a permanent tenant. And we would also, at the same time, still be getting taxes. Yeah. So it didn't go anywhere. And that's okay.
Now, why wouldn't that go anywhere?
You have to have support. I mean, I don't think at the time the administration at the district wasn't interested.
So that's why a school's out of the question.
I don't know that it's out of the question. I mean, that's what I was going to say to Jeff. I mean, if something doesn't happen, I don't know what they have to go through to get demolition to occur. But the developers that I talked to, first thing they said is demo. We want to level it and start again. And then they start asking how many units do they need to have, how much retail to make it profitable. And that's usually the final conversation. But this may be, Jeff, if you remember, we tried to get a business improvement district around 22. And it didn't go anywhere. So we need partners. Those partners include current entrepreneurs and owners in the area. I will say this is, and I don't know if this is true, and maybe Jeff can weigh in. Across from the mall is a very concentrated apartment development. And I don't know if that would be compatible with high-end retail, which is what was envisioned. I mean, based on the King of Prussia model. Which was actually, it's a great model if we could make it happen. But I know there's a lot of barriers, and I know there's a lot of ways to kind of capitalize on the assets we have. But it is a unique property. And as Jeff mentioned, all those satellite spokes, Red Lobster, Mounts, Texas Longhorn, I've never really seen that kind of, it seems like, I don't even know what you would call it, Jeff, that you have all these other projects independent of the mall, yet with veto power. Doable. It's a tough ask.
Well, Transformco being the most difficult of the group.
Yeah.
But some time ago, before I started, there was a bus trip to King of Prussia Mall that the leadership in the township took. We can't replicate King of Prussia here because we
Yeah.
have 25 million people
Yeah.
within 25 miles.
And
You
that's
know,
all but mainline Philly. It's just outside of mainline Philly. So there's so
exactly.
many people with so much money just a short drive away.
Indeed. But, Joe, I addressed this 2 weeks ago at the Board of Supervisors meeting. It's not just the mall, it's the progression. And if you don't have a vision for when the mall's completed 5 years, 10 years down the road, it's not going to work. Because in a completed redevelopment, you're going to need employees. At 15 and 20 and $22 an hour, do we have enough employees to fill that 40 acres, 38 acres? I don't think so.
Mm.
And if we did, do we have worker housing? Or at 11 o'clock when a bar closes, are you going to have to figure out a way to get across the river somewhere else?
Yeah, that you're talking about things that a lot of people don't think about. Me
Well,
being one, that's why I mention it.
transportation, the 13 business owners that are currently there, I would think none of them are happy with the amount of retail sales that is occurring.
Hmm.
So if you're not driving traffic to the mall, that would be the responsibility of not the owner, but all of us. And so there is no traffic in the mall other than if people want to work there or go get, some Chinese food. We have a very limited quantity of lower end employees because we're really a bedroom community. 2, 3, we have no transportation that would bring people to the mall and away from the mall on a Sunday or a Saturday. So there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle that have to be figured out before you can try to get somebody come in and lay down $50 million to redevelop it.
So let me ask you this. Let's shift gears just a little bit and talk about economic development in general in Lower Paxton Township. We may bring them all back up because that's what we're here to talk about. But what is the planning commission, Jeff? I see that there are some things that kind of overlap a little bit, right? With what the planning commission, now the planning commissioners or the board members, that's a volunteer job. Is that correct?
Correct.
What do they do versus, or do they do anything alongside the economic development director, planning commission?
Well, one person is out there bringing business to the community, and then you hand it off to the Industrial Development Authority to work with the builders, to work with the engineers, to just put the pieces to that puzzle.
Okay. Kind of a liaison, right?
Well, they
Between
actually,
what's happening on the front line and then, like you said, the developers and the architects, and they're kind of in between the two, right?
correct.
Okay.
And the authority actually makes money. It would pay for itself.
That's what I thought. I just was talking, kind of debating my cousin yesterday. My cousin Keith, who's one of my best friends too, and we were talking about having to pay an economic development director of economic development. I said, Keith, I think it's a position that would easily pay for itself if that person was going out there and doing his or her job. Do you see that as accurate, Jeff?
100%.
It's like any sales job. If you paid me $150,000 a year to go out and sell your widgets, one might think that's a lot of money. Why would they pay him 150? Well, what if I'm making $1 million a year for the company? It's a steal. Then they're not really paying me anything, So
I think, Joe, one of the partners should be the county, and they have economic development resources. And if you're going to develop, you're going to have to wind up going through their planning commission anyway.
That's what my cousin also mentioned. Just to go ahead.
But there are buckets of money. I think Representative Fleming talked about that if they would repurpose the Colonial Park Mall that you could access. But again, there has to be vision and a plan. what do we want this community to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Something as positive as here is because we're attracting a lot of folks. And as Joe said, yeah, it's a bedroom community. It's Herculean to get transportation to the mall, as it is right now. But again, I don't know, maybe Jeff can comment on this. If you look at what happened at the Harrisburg Mall, the East Mall, which used to be the mall, the perennial mall, before it became what it is now, a mixed use. And it looks like there's apartments, retail, a lot going in. I don't know if we could do that there, but they've been able to remake themselves in whatever township. And the East Mall went from a place where everybody wanted to go to a place where everybody wanted to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the lessons learned from that is the district signed on for a TIF, which is a tax instrument where the mall got a break, basically saying, we're going to build up roads, we're going to build up infrastructure. Never happened. So I think, whenever you do anything, you try to understand the impact it has. Again, so if you would make this a concentrated, and I don't think it would be that concentrated residential, my question would be, as a school board director, where are the kids going to go? We're at capacity right now, and we're having this problem throughout the district. Okay. Developers keep building houses, which puts a strain on the buildings. Yeah, we get some money in response, but it's not enough. So if we could get a plan together where part of the vision would be, and I'm saying this not lightly, where are we going to put kids when it comes to education? I mean, many of our buildings are at capacity. Yeah, and so
all these gears all have to grind together. You're talking about another whole portion of this whole equation, and it's an extremely important and vital part. We're talking about our children who are our future,
And Joe, it's important because we are at the cusp of 1,000 new homes being developed here.
Maybe more.
And I'm sure that's down the road, but so now you have, maybe 2 cars in each family,
mm-hmm.
and you've got children. So the school system is going to be, crammed even more so. The road, Lingelstown Road is 1 lane in each direction.
Ooh.
So, you don't want trucks there, but now you're going to add another couple thousand cars. So there's a lot of pieces to the economic development of the mall that affects everything else behind it.
Right. Bill?
I was just going to say that we've gotten to a point now, like I think what Jeff's referring to, or getting to like a breaking point or tipping point where I think in the past, everyone's the township did its thing, the school district did its thing, but we need a more of a coordinated plan, I would think, moving forward here. Instead of doing our own, everyone's in their own lane now. We're going to have to work together.
But that's, I think, part of the problem. Pennsylvania is a commonwealth, and everybody has their own little fiefdoms. I mean, you see that when we try to consolidate schools or consolidate fire departments. So we wrote at Swan maybe 8 years ago a grant for the Route 39 study that got expanded into the Route 39 and 743 study. Had the municipality sign off, but you couldn't implement it. Everybody had their own self-interest. But what you find is with growth and development and everything that people think inherently are good, there's only so much space. And I haven't found anybody that likes traffic jam. That's the main complaint you get all the time. Why, Eric, why is there traffic? I said, it may have something to do with the fact that you're getting in your car during rush hour to buy a stick of gum at the Sheets. I don't know. But Joe, you're right. You have all these different components, and if you can start addressing them, you can get the community moving in the right direction.
So,
but
Eric,
I'm sorry. The jug handle when you get off the highway, where there's the old Colonial diner and the tire store. Well, those are eyesores.
Yeah.
So the county came to us and said,
"You mean like it's a concrete island, basically? Is that what you're talking about? The jug handle?"
Yes.
Just like an island of concrete that sits there. Okay.
But when you get off the road, you could sit at that traffic light, because if that mall gets open, you're going to be in traffic just to get into the mall for an hour.
That's a great point.
But there was $500,000 put on the table to do a corridor study. The county was willing to put that up. Because even though you have a diamond, which is the mall property, and that's redeveloped, the frame to that mall is ugly. If you keep going down 22, you're going to hit all the vape shops and the whatever.
Tire shops and
Yeah.
yeah.
So there has to be a concentrated effort by bringing Swatera Township and others into a meeting to be able to see what a big picture is going to look like. But we can't just sit there in meetings to talk and then do nothing. And that's all that's been happening.
Jeff and Eric, does that Swatara Township, that area there where Techport is and where the old mall is that's now being redeveloped, do they benefit a little bit from being right off the turnpike and from being kind of right down the road, a few miles, 5 miles down the road from Hershey? That seems like it sits in an area where it's easy to get to from the turnpike and easy to get to from Hershey, to and from Hershey. Do you think there's any?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
For the hotels. I
Well,
mean,
there's just a lot of traffic there, and I don't think that those people are all living in Swatara Township that are using all the businesses at Techport. Well, of course, the hotels.
Well, the hotels. I mean, some of them even have a Hershey Harrisburg name, a moniker.
Correct.
And one of the buckets of monies, and I don't want to digress too much. Dauphin County has a tourism tax. That money usually gets regurgitated back to Hershey. I mean, it would be helpful if that money would be split more evenly to help people put together more of a vision. But Swatara is, boy, that's, and I don't know how else to put it. That's a bedroom community to Hershey.
How are they getting it done without a director of economic development? Who's doing that stuff? The kind of the frontline work at Swatara Township. Do they have a board or a panel, or do they have a director of economic development? I don't think they do.
I don't know. I know they have. Bob Eline was just replaced, so they have zoning and planning and things of that nature. I think they have supervisors that have always been interested in economic development.
Okay.
But that goes back to what Jeff was saying. If you had quarterly meetings, I mean, COG used to serve a purpose. And if you had meetings between these municipalities to share ideas and best practices, it could only be healthy.
Joe, a company from Dallas called me. They're looking to build a data center. So I went to the township manager and he said, well, Lower Paxton Township doesn't have the land and we're not interested in having a data center here.
Mm-hmm.
I sent it over to Dauphin County and they just bought the old golf course in Swatara.
Right.
They're going to build
$60 million, paid way more than the value of the land, I was told.
Well, I'm on the board of the authority. And when
Okay.
we were approached, because we weren't looking, the property is worth about 2.5 and we sold it for 46.5.
Oh, 46. Okay.
And
That's amazing, by the way. It's really amazing.
But the Lower Paxton manager at the time had no vision. I mean, you can do this on 60, 70 acres. I know you want a couple hundred acres, but the revenue it generates is astounding, especially for the school district. The
Could be a game changer, right? For a lot of people.
Yeah, and people view it like, well, it's another warehouse. No, it's not. I mean, I get that it's not the most aesthetically pleasing, but most of the land isn't used. There's not a lot of traffic coming in and out. And it's the same thing I say to people, when it comes to warehouses. I'm very resistant if the area's not zoned that way. I just don't think you can force it. But there's not a lot of traffic impact and there's a lot of economic benefit. So I think Swatara, my goodness, I think there's a difference what Jeff was talking about when you're basically letting people know you're open for business. I mean, can you imagine walking into Lower Paxton Township and that'll give you some idea of how much money was at play, and we're not interested.
Yeah.
You know, that's a
Who-
bad.
and the last manager made that decision. Is that what you're saying? Was it up to him?
Well, it
Before-
never went any further. So yes.
That's not good.
Yeah, he blocked it.
So we
No.
kind of in between. Like, I know that the last board chair, Laura Kurtz, really bright young woman.
Yeah.
Amazing.
She had some plans. Okay. And they sounded like some sound plans for addressing the mall and economic development in general. Are we kind of in a holding pattern now between the plans that she had that she was working on, let's say, and that and allowing this new board to get up and running? What's going on now? Anything at all? I was told there's no marketing materials. Like we're just kind of sitting on our hands.
So I spoke with Laura Kurtz 2 days ago.
Okay.
She is a brainiac.
I did try to get her on the show, by the way. She didn't get back to me, but that's okay. I didn't expect her to.
Well, she would love to be part of a development authority.
Right.
And with her legal background, the board would save tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees.
Right.
But last I heard, she's just like me, a lowly Republican that nobody's interested in working with right now.
Yeah, she does, I think, a very good job of not walking around with a red R on her skirt or whatever. You know what I mean?
She does. She was a great chairperson on the board. But the bottom line is an authority just can't be with just volunteers that just want to show up to put something on their resume. They actually have to do something.
Well, the party at this level doesn't matter. It's the skill sets.
That's right.
And, I've lived here all my life, and it was always Republican, and I'm a Democrat. And when I ask somebody or they call me and ask for help, I don't ask what party they are.
Right. And they're not, and they know what party you are, and they're asking you for help anyway.
Yeah, I think Jeff has a point where you can harvest institutional memory and knowledge, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel, which happens a lot of time when new people get elected. If they don't have experience in government, it's not a seamless transition. It's a challenge. And I don't think when you're looking at economic development, you look at people who can get it done and who have experience in business and Laura, has those skill sets. And I think there's other people in the community that we have. I mean, I think we have a solid business army out there, but if we're going to get stuck with the labels, then we're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, there's one question running through my mind as I listen to this is that, with the way we're set up, all these municipalities, all these different players in our area, where do you go to get the leadership, someone to pull everyone together? Is it a person, or how do you go about getting someone to have that vision and be able to work with people and get them to work together? I mean, where do you go for that? Is the county level? I don't know.
No, but the township could bring someone in that has vast urban planning experience.
Okay.
As a paid position, you're saying?
Oh, yes.
Get somebody who's very qualified, very educated, very experienced, pay them a good salary, and let them go out there and get it done.
And they would be the quarterback. So the other night at the township meeting, someone stood up and said, talked about Villa Teresa.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's on 7 acres. It's from the outside, a beautiful building, but inside is full of asbestos and lead. And the elevator shaft, you couldn't even fit a gurney in there. So you couldn't create a relationship with the hospital unless you did a major rebuild.
It would have to come down, wouldn't it? I mean, what would go there?
Well, you can redevelop the building, but the ROI wouldn't be there because you wouldn't have enough housing units to create enough profit to offset your costs.
Right.
So yes, leveling it would make the right answer. And, my thought was to negotiate a contract with the hospital and build something for their liking and then have them sign a 20-year lease or whatever. But, economic development, I was just in Panama talking to a coffee manufacturer, a coffee grower.
You're like the world's most interesting man, Jeff. You get around, buddy.
Well, there's nothing wrong with a pina colada somewhere.
Not at all. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But because of tariffs, they asked me to negotiate and lobby for them in Washington to be able to get them here without tariffs. There are so many, because of tariffs, there are so many corporations around the world that want to open office space here in the United States. You got to have those connections and make those relationships work. Otherwise, I was in Boca Raton to an investment meeting, and there were probably 50 or 60 other cities there as well, trying to negotiate deals with the same people that I was talking to. So,
is this in your role at Lower Paxton?
Yeah, I was there, I don't know, about 10 months ago.
Okay.
At my own expense, because I had zero budget as an economic development director.
Wow. That's rough.
So, we've got to develop, 2 30-second videos, one for residential and one for business. We've got to have marketing materials. We've got to be up there at the top of the game. Otherwise, we're not.
Right. There's kind of no in between. You're either going to be sitting there dead in the water sitting on your hands or out there doing it the right way. And we're kind of in a holding pattern right now. And I say that with respect to the new board because they are new. Okay. We know that. But we're not really moving forward at this point. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know what their plan is, but from what I see from the outside looking in, it's the wheels are turning very slowly.
Now, let me ask you guys this. Jeff, you might know this more than Eric. What about other local area townships and municipalities? Do most of them, some of them, how many of them have economic development directors or managers or a similar position where somebody's getting paid to kind of be dedicated to that role? Upper Allen, Lower Allen, Sweetara, Humbolstown.
Well, Lower Allen put together the program over there at Capital City Mall and across the Route 15 into that plaza that used to be Pomeroy's or something.
Now, who would have done that at Lower Allen? Do you guys know? Is there somebody?
They have an economic development authority over there.
Okay, all right.
But they do work closely with the governor's action team. So again, it's about creating relationships across the board that are going to be able to come in and assist.
And that's what a director of economic development would do, right?
They would be the quarterback to the team.
Right. But Jeff points out a really good potential ally in the governor's action team. When I was with the Sustainable Energy Fund, they helped us relocate a business from New Hampshire to Pennsylvania. And the county has an economic development director, but it goes without saying is you got to get the right person too. They're not falling out of the sky. And, one of the things that I've always promoted for this area is we're close to this tourism triangle of Gettysburg, Lancaster, and Hershey. For the most part, the schools are good. There's a lot of really tangible assets that we have, not necessarily in Lower Paxton, but make the area attractive. I haven't worked with the governor's action team in years. So I'm not really sure how it's set up now. But without them, like I say, we moved an entire business from New Hampshire to the coal region.
And Eric, it's really important. We had the governor's action team come to Lower Paxton to sit down for a meeting, but they were Democrats and the leadership here was Republican. We couldn't get them to agree to anything.
We can't stand that, Jeff. Bill and I, we feel the exact same way about that stuff. Make it apolitical, make it non-party affiliate, and roll up your sleeves.
Well, when you want a pair of sneakers, you don't care whether they're Democrat sneakers or Republican sneakers.
Right. Well, that was Michael. Remember Michael Jordan's famous line when he didn't get involved in the North Carolina Senate race, and he said, "Why not?" He said, "Well, Republicans buy sneakers too."
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot of money sitting at the governor's office for failing malls. I think from what I was told, there are 19 failing malls across the state.
You just took the question right out of my mouth, Jeff. I'm going to let you finish, but I'm going to ask you in the form of a question.
Okay.
How much assistance is available out there from maybe Dauphin County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, or even the federal government? Is there money out there just waiting for us to ask for it that might be available and we're not accessing it?
Well, Representative Fleming was there all along, and there was $10 million set aside for whether it be demolition or studies. Nobody caught up with Representative Fleming.
Mm.
The governor, from what I was told, there's tens of millions of dollars sitting there for redevelopment purposes. And yet, I mean, maybe this new board will reach out to the governor's office, but the last one did not.
Okay. Yeah. So you're not playing favorites here, Jeff, when you're talking about the boards and what they have done, what they haven't done. You just want the township to improve. I can tell.
Well, there's a township manager. That's his responsibility, is to run the town on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. It's not the supervisors. They're the overseer.
Right.
Yeah.
So the mall should be left to, we have one of the best planning. Amanda Zerby is a 10 out of 10. She's excellent at what she does.
Now, what does she do? What does Amanda do? Ms. Zerby?
The head of community development.
Okay.
Well, they also, in that office, they have Neil Garrett, who's excellent.
Yeah, Nick Garrett. Yeah.
Nick Garrett. Yeah. You got the staff, and you have right now a manager who has a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
And actually calls people back. So, there's opportunity there. It's not going to be easy. I don't want to sound desperate, but, the way Jeff pointed to the jug handle coming off, when you come off and then you go down 22, almost until you get to West Hanover, it's not a pretty sight.
I live in the thick of that.
And that's PennDOT.
Yeah.
PennDOT to the table with all the other players. It's not going to happen overnight.
So, what about other properties of concern or interest? We mentioned, of course, the mall, and then we alluded to Villa Teresa. Do we have any of these other ones that are just kind of hanging out there that are major? Not some little corner mom and pop store that just hasn't been leased in a while. But what about some big ones that we really want to get moving on?
Well, Linglestown is a very beautiful little.
Absolutely.
Main Street USA program would be perfect for Linglestown. And so to bring in a Main Street USA to Linglestown, you have to look at the three components that make up Lower Paxton Township and see what their identity is. We are, 8 miles from Hershey?
Yeah.
Nobody ever wakes up in Los Angeles or New York and says, we're going to go to Lower Paxton Township on our vacation.
Correct.
They say we're going to Hershey.
That person would be the first.
But
no, Jeff's right. If you market it right, you would go to a nice bed and breakfast in Lincoln.
Yes.
Then go to Hershey.
We have a winery. How much business is he doing? I haven't spoken to him in about 10 months, but I'd be concerned.
Yeah.
But with those pieces to the puzzle, the reality of it is there are solutions to every problem. You just have to look through the forest to see the trees.
Right.
Yeah. I'm wondering what you guys would think. What would be the first step to get moving in the right direction? With what we've been talking about tonight, what would be the first step? You
need a good quarterback. So you got to hire a director of economic development.
Okay.
Then you form the board, because the paperwork would have to. There's a lot of paperwork involved.
You mean not the board, like not the board
authority?
You're talking about
the authority.
Yeah.
Give the quarterback some blocking and stuff like that is what you're saying, right? Some
well,
support.
You got to have a good relationship between the worker bees.
Right.
And so you got to develop a budget. And from what I understand, Eric Kessler looked at the budget and was able to find the money needed to create an economic development department.
Eric Kessler is a local developer. Yeah. Just
one note about that. He was using money that was the grant money, CBG, whatever it is, Community Development Block Grant money, and that was already taken with the parks. So that money that he was earmarking was not
didn't exist, right?
Well, it's being used for something else.
That was available.
that
or would
he
have been
expect
available?
from other areas.
Okay.
Okay.
You know,
You have,
CDBG,
I'm sorry.
that grant is very specific,
Okay.
and it is not for capital improvement projects. What it is for low and moderate income families, for their betterment, for blighted areas, or for ADA compliance.
Well, you know what they said? They said that they were getting the parks to be able to use it because they're doing ADA aspects to the parks. That's what was said at a recent meeting.
Okay. Eric?
I think whatever we do, I just make two quick points. It has to be portable to the next set of supervisors. It can't be a partisan, you
Yep.
know, it's, if this is our vision and we agree on it, you have to be able to maintain
Yeah.
it and nourish it. I don't know, Jeff may know if I don't know if they still do Elm Street, but you know, projects. But one of the things you can do in some of these areas, landscape, lighting, you know, different things to make it physically attractive to get people feeling better about where they're at. Look, I grew up here, and Lingelstown, when I grew up, is nowhere near what Lingelstown is now. It's a gorgeous little community. You know, when I was growing up, it was a place to get your rear end kicked at the Eagle Hotel, man.
Right.
Well, wasn't that the vision of the business improvement district? Is that what they were moving in that direction? What you're just talking about, Eric?
The meetings I went to, and I don't know if Jeff attended to it, you just couldn't get a critical mass
Okay,
together.
all
I
right.
think Fred had pushed really hard for that, and
Fred Leidy.
yeah. And I think people need to understand, and we've all touched on it, with an economic development director, you're gonna pay, but it's worth the investment.
I think, Bill, you and I spoke this morning, and you did say that somebody from the board is certainly somebody either representing the board or from the board. They're working on kind of getting educated and getting up to date. And yeah, I want to mention that. At the top of the show, I did say that I reached out to all 5 board members, and 3 of them did get back to me. And the gist of 2 of the 3 was that, look, we're just kind of getting our legs underneath us here. We don't have all the information we need,
Right.
and we're not ready to represent the township on
That's
a podcast.
fair. Absolutely.
Yeah, I should have said all that at the beginning. And you know what? And I'm going to tell you, it was Robin Lindsay and Kate Scheib. And I just sat there and I read their responses and I nodded and I thought, that's fair. That's professional. But I do think that they care enough about this stuff that they're working on it. That we're heading in the right direction.
Kate has experience. I think it's up in Bucknell, Lewisburg, working for the municipality. Robin has tons of experience. And I think, and I learned this as a school board director, you could have filled a warehouse with what I didn't know.
Right.
And then when I was running for office, I mean, I thought I was the answer.
Right.
So the folks are going to need time.
Yeah, I want to say the point I'm trying to make is I don't blame them for not joining us tonight. Okay, I really don't.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, this board, the new board, is just getting started.
Right.
Because the prior board, you know, Laura introduced some information about forming an authority, and that's pretty much where it ended. And they didn't win the election, so now that's over, unless they can recruit her. So we're really at because of all the turnover. You realize we've had over the last year 5 reorganizational meetings with the township. So I mean, there's been turmoil and no leadership because we've got all this turnover in the supervisors. So they're
stranger than fiction scenario. I mean, it's kind of bizarre. It's odd the way things have all played out.
It's crippling. And, you know, no matter how smart and capable Laura is, you know, when you're working with people that are appointed and you had the manager who we had, it's difficult to steer a new route. But, you know, I just tell people, forget the party. It doesn't matter. I'm not a party person anyway. But if you get caught up in that, you're not going anywhere.
And Joe, it's important. You don't know how to get somewhere if you don't know where you're going.
Correct.
Exactly.
So they need to have a visioning session. They could bring in experts from the county, from the state, and just pick their brain.
Yeah.
But you have to start somewhere.
Correct.
And, you know, it's never going to become so simple that it's a box handed to you. You've got to build it.
Mm-hmm.
And, that statement, if you build it, they will come, is just not true.
Yeah, all the meetings right from the beginning, and somewhat when it started with things we were doing online here. Every meeting, there's someone talking about economic development. So they've been through 6 meetings now, and at the 6th meeting is whenever John Campbell just this week said that he's sat down with the manager, trying to get some ideas together and get a strategy. So I think we the people out there and myself and others who do media, we just need to keep the pressure on so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle.
Well, that's our job as members of the media, and no other media members. And I'm not saying that this and that the podcast and Lingelstown Gazette are the ultimate in media outlets and all, but there are no more. I don't think CBS 21 and the other one they're not as concerned about. They're not anywhere nearly as concerned about this as Bill and I are, as far as trying to. I don't think
Well, look,
they have other things to worry about.
When the Patriot News went to 2 days a week and a Sunday, and they just destroyed their staff. I mean, the Patriot News, to their credit, used to cover township.
They would have cared about this.
Yeah, that happened in 2013. That's when they dropped the metro
They would have
sections.
been concerned about what we're talking about tonight.
Well, they would have covered it.
Still been in place the same way. Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
No, I mean, look, I can remember meetings where the Patriot, would go to 10, 11 o'clock at night. They would be there because they wanted to get the story out.
Right.
And people still read. They may not read off of paper, but they read, and they want to know what's going on in their community. And if you don't have like what's happening here or a Patriot News, then people are feeding off rumors. Yep. And believe me, I had a resident call and they said, I heard a rumor. I said, before you go, can I ask you a question? He said, yeah. I said, have you ever heard a positive rumor? I mean, have you ever heard somebody saying something good?
They're by nature, they're not positive, right?
As soon as they say, I heard a rumor, it's like, okay.
Here we go.
There goes the night.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, fellas. Anything else? What did we miss? What did Bill and I leave out or overlook or?
Well, you have throughout this talk, you've identified some people that Jeff is one, Eric Kessler is another. You have resources within the community.
Let's do this again soon. Jeff, are you into that at all?
Absolutely. It's important to the community.
We want to, Bill has mentioned, and I admittedly, I just didn't do this, getting somebody from the mall involved. I don't know if we're going to get the owner involved. He's from like an hour outside of Boston, but maybe a mall manager. Somebody was commenting earlier here. If you're discussing Colonial Park Mall, there are John Zhang, Raymond Chang from JZ Real. So there are people out there that we could bring in.
Well, you could also get somebody from Swatter to talk about what they did there.
That would be good too. We're not going to let this kind of roll over and die. This topic, this issue. And Bill, it's near and dear to Bill's. Bill, what are you doing now that the roundabout's kind of
Well, there's going to be another roundabout discussion because what people don't realize is what we're doing now is not going to prevent the trucks from coming in.
All right, okay.
We may have to take another look at what's going on there.
That you got to get engaged with that issue with caution, because I remember back in the day when 2 LP supervisors lost their seat.
Yeah.
Over well, it wasn't a roundabout then. It was the flag and moving the flag. But that roundabout, every time I'm out there, some truck is, making love to it, going around and knocking stuff out.
Yeah, that doesn't function too well with the trucks, and we're on a state route. Come on, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Well, Bill and I, we'll stay in touch with you too, and right. I think it would be fair to whatever board members do join us here in the near future, hopefully, to let them have their own 45 minutes to an hour. I don't think we need to have them, kind of commingling with people from outside the township, or, just let's let them.
Well, yeah, let them get their strategy put together, and then maybe they can talk about it.
Right. So let's do this again in the near future, guys. We couldn't have had 2 better people on. I had a couple people that said, "Man, who you having on that show?" And I said, Eric Epstein and Jeff Clare, they're like, well, he started with the right two people. No, I mean that though.
No, Jeff's a great talent, and there's other people within the community that we can tap, and but I think what Jeff said is so important. You have to have a vision.
Yep.
If you're going on a road trip, you have to know where you're going. It's the same thing. We don't have a destination yet.
Right. Okay. Jeff
All
Clare,
right,
thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Eric Epstein, Bill, thank you. Great show as always. And we will again have another podcast coming up here within the coming weeks. And the next one I think is going to be on recovery and addiction and recovery from chemical dependency. It's something that touches just about everybody out there, in some way, shape, or form. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
See you, Jeff. Take care.